attacks would be happening every freaking day. If I got to a level where I could hack, not saying I'm going to do it. Just saying.
Zero trust.
This is why we want zero trust. Not even your co-host.
Your co-host.
Hey, Dara,
my
your main friend.
co-host is one of the good guys. He's one of the good guys, man. I'm just playing.
We run after shiny objects a lot.
Listen, I'm definitely guilty of being that. I call them shiny birds. Like you just dangle something shiny from them. Like, oh, what's that? And then something else. What's that?
The next thing.
What's that? Yeah. It's not good for focus.
It's not.
But it's good for being able to pivot on a dime, right?
And not being afraid to do so, because that's most people's hesitation with changing their lives, their careers, relationships even. You'll stay in it because it's comfortable. Even though you're miserable doing the shit, and we can't do that. Like, our spirit is too restless.
And here's funny enough, when I was like in my early 20s, I was definitely, afraid to try certain things. And then I realized, the first time you try something new, then you realize, oh, that wasn't so bad. Not only was it not so bad, but oh, look at all these experiences I got to have, and things I got to see, and things I got to do that I wouldn't have if I didn't. And then that was all I needed to be able to be like, oh, there's this new thing here. Let me try it. Let me try this.
That is the mindset that I had coming from California, moving to Atlanta.
Right.
I was like, damn, I don't know how it's gonna be. I've never lived in another state other than California. So I was like, damn. And then the other side of me is like, oh, hell yeah, this is an adventure,
Exactly.
Like, this is a whole new life that I'm opening up to myself.
Yeah.
And once I came and visited and I started going back and forth, I just fell in love with not just moving, but traveling in general.
Right.
Getting out of my own safe space, quote unquote, and just experiencing a different life. Because California, Atlanta, night and day, other than traffic.
Yeah.
Traffic is shit and people can't drive, but anyway. Night and day as far as lifestyle goes.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, we used to live in San Diego for about the first 3 years that we got married. And so when we moved to Atlanta, Angie's parents were like, you should come to Atlanta, you should come. And we were like, yeah, we'll do it in a couple of years. And then when the opportunity came to come to move sooner than we had actually planned, we're like, okay, this opportunity is like falling into our lap. We're not ready for it, but we're going to do it anyway.
Yep.
And we did it, and, we're glad that we did, right? But yeah, I don't think that everybody has the same pace or has to have that same pace.
Yeah.
I just want people to be open to it.
Yes, that's the thing. Be open to it. You don't know. Like, you didn't know what your situation was going to be once you moved here. Neither did I.
Exactly.
And the situation has changed dramatically since when I came here in 2022 versus now.
Right.
And I think I was feeling trapped in California. I didn't feel like I had room to grow. You spend so much of your life in one place. It feels stagnating after a while.
Yeah.
So I felt like I had to leave. I just didn't know where. So when the job opportunity came for Atlanta, I jumped at it.
Exactly.
It was a little slice of hell getting everything here, the car and my stuff.
Man, who you telling,
Jesus
man? We had to, Angie and her dad, they packed up the van and then they drove across country for several days from San Diego to Atlanta. And I stayed behind in San Diego for a couple extra weeks because of the job that I held while Angie got settled down here. And then like about 6 weeks later, then I followed. And I came by plane, but like that was a hectic time, you know, but still we're glad that we did it. And fast forward to now, it's, several years later, and
you and I, business owners, business partners now, podcasters.
This is what I'm saying.
Like, I didn't foresee any of this.
I was just about to say, like, if anybody had told me this like several years before, I've been like,
shut the hell up.
What are you talking about?
Get out of here.
But so that makes me wonder, what is it that I cannot even fathom now that's going to be part of my reality in the next year even, or the next couple of years.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And I'm sure it's the same for you. So yeah.
I had enough B-roll. Let's get to this.
All right. So here we are, episode 4, 2 weeks behind.
And you know what? At this point, chalk it up to it being the first season of this podcast. We're still new at this shite.
Yeah.
And we're learning.
We're learning, we're new. And then we've also got like a lot of things kind of going on that are a little bit hectic right now. So our apologies on being 2 weeks behind on episode 4. But we are here now. So welcome to Phish and Quips,
welcome
episode
back.
4.
Yes.
Episode 4, welcome back. And this episode, we are discussing 0 days. What even is a 0 day? Like, what does that mean? What's the difference between a 0 day and an end day?
I know what I want it to be. Like, for one whole day, everywhere you go, when you ring something up, it checks out to 0. That's fucking yes. That's the 0 day I want. Ow.
Listen, Tommy for president. And if you run on that platform, I think you'll get the vote. You'll get the vote. Right? You got my vote.
Vote for me.
Right? Vote
Y'all
for
remember
Tommy.
that. Y'all remember that.
You need a campaign manager?
This is my campaign. Yes. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we're on this, right? So will y'all vote for him?
I'm not making any money on this podcast yet, so be easy on me.
Well, look, to get people to vote for you, maybe it can't just be for one day. Maybe the 0 day turns into like a 0 week or a 0 month, right? If you make under a certain income, then everything is,
at this
$0 for.
Or we zero out one of your credit cards or something like that.
Could you zero out my student loans?
That's that. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Zero out one of your balances. Ooh, that'd be amazing.
Would like for somebody to zero that out for me. So if you're gonna do that, definitely you get my vote for life. Okay.
And we'll go through all your finances and pick whatever the highest balance is. We'll zero it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
That's the 0 day I want.
Anyhow, y'all. Yes. Okay. But that is not.
Yes, that's not
what
it.
0 day is, right? But welcome. We're episode 4. We're talking about 0 days today, and as usual, we have our trusty laptop with our notes here. So if you ever see us kind of looking down here, it's because we need notes. Okay.
Yes.
We need notes. We're not perfect, right?
And it's a lot of information to process.
Exactly.
Let's just be honest.
Exactly.
Yes.
So, but before we start talking about 0 days, let's talk about this week's Cyber in the Wild episode, right? Cyber in the Wild is a section of our podcast where we talk about a real life breach, whether it's a famous breach or an infamous breach or a very recent breach. We kind of break down what the breach was about and who the players were, how it affects you, right? The lessons that we could learn from that breach so that we can all be a little bit more vigilant in our cybersecurity hygiene going forward, right? So let's talk about it. So what is this week's Cyber in the Wild breach that we're discussing?
Eternal Blue.
Yes.
And it sounds like an old cologne, like one of the things. Let me get that Eternal Blue. Yeah.
I'm getting a hint of like cool water or something like that.
Our version of remember them dollar stores used to sell the off-brand version.
Yes.
Our version of cool water. You don't get your. You don't give me this goddamn bottle of alcohol with a hint.
Listen, the people could smell you coming from a mile off.
For all the wrong reasons. Yes.
Yes, but Eternal Blue is not something that anybody saw coming from a mile off. Right. Okay. Eternal Blue is very sneaky. It sounds like a Marvel character, but it's worse, right? It's kind of a tiny packet that can own your computer, right? So, do you want to
So what it does is like SMB is a protocol that Windows uses to share like files for printers and services across a network.
Now, what does SMB stand for?
No, no, no.
It stands for server message block, right? And it allows remote code execution.
Yes. So basically, what they did, and what a zero-day attack encompasses is, it's like, picture like you buy a house and there's a hidden door that not even you know about. So what these attackers do is they find the door, exploit it, like go in, rob a whole bunch of your stuff before you even realize the door exists, and then dip out. So, and they have remote access to this door without you ever knowing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So SMB, as you were talking about, like, is a protocol that Windows uses, right? And it's used to share files, printers, and services across the network. And SMB version 1 is an older version with design assumptions from a completely different era, right?
Yeah.
And so what happened was Windows SMB 1 server didn't correctly handle especially crafted packets, okay? And this allowed attackers to send a malformed network message that made the server run attacker-supplied code remotely without any authentication.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So they found a key, basically, like a skeleton key that opens up all the doors that, you know, Microsoft had. And because Microsoft never updated the old framework, they were able to exploit it without them even having, you know, there's no protocol for it. That's why it's called 0 day. They have 0 days to identify and prevent the threat before the attackers are able to, you know, gain remote access.
Right.
Yeah.
So now with Eternal Blue specifically, right, this kind of originated as a National Security Agency developed tool that was later leaked by the shadow brokers. And this happened in April of 2017, right? And even though Microsoft kind of issued a patch in March of 2017, a lot of systems remained unpatched. And in May, the WannaCry worm used Eternal Blue to kind of spread rapidly across the world. And this hit hospitals, it hit businesses and governments, and it caused massive disruption across the world, right? And this same exploit was later used for NotPetya and other campaigns, and it kind of remains your textbook example of why stockpiling cyber weapons and failing to patch quickly is extremely dangerous.
Especially in large systems, you know, a company as big as Microsoft, you know, can't do anything about it. What does that say to the average person?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's why we always, you know, stress that you even update your phone, because those same security patches come in those updates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, I know it's always that thing like, you know, I heard there's this meme that goes, "Are you a software update? Because not now." Right? It's always that thing. Whenever you get that little message on your phone about a software update, everybody rolls their eyes. They're like, "God damn it! I'm in the middle of something. I don't have time for this right now." Right? But this is why you want to stop whatever you're doing and just do the update right away.
Yes.
You know, 0 days are especially heinous, and like, you know, you need to kind of stay up on your software updates. So please don't ignore them. I've been guilty of doing that in the past before I became a little bit more aware of cybersecurity and why it's so important. And now I don't care what I'm in the middle of, you know, I will, you know, immediately just do the update, then restart the computer and everything.
And with Apple has a feature now that you can schedule it. So you can have the phone do the update while you're asleep. All you have to do is plug in the phone, schedule it to install itself, and then it'll do it overnight. And it's typically faster because the phone's not doing anything.
Right.
You're not having any apps going on in the background or anything like that, so it's quick. And by the time you wake up, your phone's updated and go about your day like nothing happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are super important to stay on top of. So that's one of your takeaways here is stay up to date on your security patches.
Yes, because these attackers count on us to be lazy or oblivious or both.
Right,
and
exactly.
they come swoop right in, and once they get that ransomware in your phone, it's too late.
Yeah, you can basically forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Eternal Blue caused massive disruption. It caused billions of dollars worth of data to be destroyed. It was, Eternal Blue was that girl.
Yep.
She was that chick. She was the
She
it
was the
girl.
moment.
She was the moment at that point in time. And, she caused a lot of damage. So that is kind of our, brief peek into what Eternal Blue was all about.
Cautionary tale.
Cautionary tale, right? So what are we going to do from now? We are going to do our security updates ASAP and every single time, right?
Yes.
Okay, so now let's move on to just discussing. I mean, we kind of moved in and out of talking about Zero-Days and Eternal Blue, but now let's talk about Zero-Days specifically. So
you want to give the textbook definition?
Yeah, let's start by giving that textbook definition.
Okay.
So I'm going to read off the textbook definition here. Okay, right? So a 0-day, often written as number 0 and day, is a software vulnerability that's been discovered by attackers or researchers but is unknown to the software vendor, right? And this means that there are 0 days for the company to fix or patch it before it can be exploited. So in other words, a 0-day is a flaw that's hiding in plain sight, right? And it's sitting quietly inside of a system or an application until someone, whether that person is good or bad, finds it. And when a hacker discovers a 0-day, they can use it to gain unauthorized access, they can use it to steal data or to install malware long before anyone even realizes that there's a problem. So it's sneaky, right? So because there's no official fix or defense that exists at that point, right, 0 days are among the most valuable and dangerous types of exploits in cybersecurity, right? They can exist in software, they can exist in hardware, and even in Internet of Things devices, such as like your wearables and things like that, right?
Which is scary.
It's super
Can you
scary.
imagine somebody get into your Apple Watch?
It's honestly like you think you're in your house alone, but there's some invisible person like in the house with you. Like it's
living
creepy
in your
like
attic,
that, right?
watching every move that you're making.
Every move that you make, man. You're sitting on the toilet scrolling on your phone, and there's somebody in your phone with you.
That's literally a scary analogy, but it's so true. That's exactly what it feels like.
It's a bit of a ridiculous analogy, but you get the point, right? So once you discover a 0-day, the clock is basically ticking, right? So security researchers and vendors kind of need to analyze and patch it. They're kind of rushing to patch these things and disclose the vulnerability. And attackers, on the other hand, are racing to take advantage of and exploit the vulnerability before systems are updated, right? So it's kind of an arms race between the bad guys and the good guys.
Yes.
Who is going to kind of discover this thing and,
who's going to make the most of it?
Exactly.
It's like a gold rush, for lack of a better term. It's a gold rush. Somebody getting to the gold before the other one does. Or before us, as the general public, even know that gold is valuable.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So that's exactly what it is. Like getting to the money before people even know what the money exists.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly. So basically, how are 0 days found? How do we find 0 days?
Sometimes they're found by accident. Like somebody stumbles upon a bad line of code, or an attacker finds that code and exploits it before the security team that put it out, or the software development team that put it out, even knows it exists.
Right.
So and then once it's found, they change it slightly to the category to an in-day attack.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we move that. And that means that it's now a known attack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between 0-day and an end day, right? So that said, let's talk about the life cycle of a 0-day. So that kind of goes discovery, exploit, detection, disclosure, patch, and then public awareness.
Right.
So in the discovery phase, the 0-day starts when someone, whether it's a security researcher, a hacker or an ethical hacker will kind of discover a flaw in this software, the hardware or firmware that the vendor doesn't know about as yet, right? And this could be through like intentional testing or by accident.
Yes.
And then the
development,
next,
once a vulnerability is found, it's weaponized.
exactly.
Meaning someone writes code that takes advantage of the gain authorized access and execute these commands remotely to exfiltrate data. And at this stage, the exploit is still private and extremely valuable. So government intelligence agencies and cyber criminals may pay millions for working zero-day exploits because they provide a stealthy way to, infiltrate targets.
Right.
Basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got the next phase, right, which is kind of exploitation in the wild, right? And the 0-day is actively used in attacks before a patch exists, right? These attacks might target high-value organizations through espionage, data theft, something like that, or kind of spread widely, right? As is the case with the WannaCry worm, which is something that we had covered before, right?
Obviously.
And because there's no signatures or known defenses that exist yet, detection is really difficult, right? Sometimes the only clue is kind of like abnormal system behavior, right? And then
it moves into disclosure and development, which is once the vulnerability is detected, it's reported or disclosed, ideally through coordinated channels like bug bounty programs or direct contact with the vendor. Then the vendor rushes to develop, test, and release a patch to close this hole. So basically they're finding the trapdoor and slamming it shut. So they can stop the attackers from exploiting it any further.
Right.
So, yeah.
So they do that patch release, right? They issue an official fix or update, example through like Windows update or a firmware patch or like a software version upgrade, something like that, right? And this then turns the 0-day into the end day that you talk about, right? And then what's next? So we patch release, and then
So ironically, after a vulnerability is disclosed, it often gets exploited even more. So because attackers reverse engineer the patch to understand the flaw and target systems that haven't been updated yet. So they basically find other avenues. So they wiggle their way, they use like a worm or something to find another avenue, reverse engineer the security patch that they just put out in order to exploit it again. So then vendors will launch internal audits to catch similar issues, and researchers might publish findings to help the wider community build safer systems.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then after that come the long-term lessons, right? This is where, your interest in cybersecurity, our interest in cybersecurity comes in very handy, right? Because security teams will kind of perform a post-mortem. They want to analyze what went wrong, right? Whether it was poor input validation, whether it was legacy code, or, insecure defaults, et cetera, right? And then the vendors might even launch internal audits to kind of catch similar issues that might exist in other software that they have, right? And researchers will then publish their findings to help the wider cybersecurity community build safer systems, right? And increase our collective knowledge, right? So that's kind of the life cycle of how a 0-day occurs, right? So now, why are 0 days dangerous? I think people can kind of pick up on it, but let's just...
If you haven't, and if we haven't made it clear enough, it's not something that you can easily detect, because like the textbook definition says, it's a vulnerability that even the developers didn't know existed.
Right.
So how can you prevent something that you don't know exists?
Exactly. And they can lead to really massive breaches before anyone even knows what's happening. That is the really scary and insidious kind of part of it. Again, I get back to that same analogy of you're in your house and you think you're alone, but there's somebody invisible who's like watching everything that you're doing and just kind of waiting for the correct right moment to pounce.
Yes.
Right?
And even scarier, they can remove things without you even knowing.
Exactly. They can remove things, they can change your data, right? Which kind of goes back to, you know, the integrity aspect of part of cybersecurity's focus is maintaining data integrity. You don't want anybody just coming from anywhere being able to make changes to your data without you knowing, right?
You definitely don't want the other, because it's the CIA triad.
Exactly.
Integrity is the I.
Exactly.
Access. They have access that you have no idea about. They can give that access to somebody else. They can sell the access, which is even scarier. So multiple people will have it, and you have no idea that, you know, they have access to your system. And that's a really scary thought. That's like somebody handing out your house keys to random people.
It's really scary. But it's also what makes cybersecurity really fascinating for people like us who are interested in it, right?
The nerds of the world.
You know, and so you mentioned selling. So let's talk a little bit about the different ways that 0 days are sold, because there is a market for 0 days. And it's a very, very, what is the word that I'm looking for? Very lucrative market, right? So some of the ways that they're sold is, you know, through basically 3 areas, either through an ethical or legitimate market, through a commercial market, which can kind of get into really gray kind of areas, a little bit sketchy, and then the outright criminal market, right? So for the ethical or legitimate buyers, right, vendors such as Microsoft or Google, you know, they want, they have like disclosure programs where they are looking to find out about these 0 days before the 0 days have the ability to affect them, right? They will have bug bounty platforms where they will get ethical hackers to kind of discover and disclose these 0 days. So that's kind of like legitimate.
And then we have the commercial ones, which you said are kind of like a gray area, where private exploit brokers and specialty firms buy 0 day to resell to governments, intelligence contractors, and then private customers. Some of these firms operate legally in certain jurisdictions, and then there's others that don't, obviously, you know, the others that straddle the line are like, hey, I got this, and then they'll go and peddle it to somebody else.
To the highest buyer,
know what I'm saying?
whether that buyer is, you know, whether that buyer is good,
legit or not. They're like, hey, it's not my problem. Look, I got the key. You want it or not?
Exactly. So that would be kind of commercial. And then the third broad way that 0 days are kind of sold would be to the out and out criminal buyers, right? These would be cyber criminal groups, right? Or darknet customers that buy exploits in order to kind of commit fraud and ransomware, espionage, or sabotage of competitive companies, right? So these are the 3 broad ways that these things can be sold. And I've heard of 0 days going for the hundreds of thousands, even in the millions of dollars, depending on how crucial the particular 0 day is. So let me tell you something. If, you know, a criminal sells the right 0 day, they can make themselves a lot of money. And it is our job to prevent them from being able to capitalize on that.
Because 9 times out of 10, the money that they're stealing is yours.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you may not
yours,
even know.
Mine, right?
Yours, mine, and ours.
So you're just sitting on the beach sipping Mai Tais
Off
with our money.
You know
and I take a little bit of an issue with that, right? So
how do we defend them? How do we defend against them?
Okay, so
are there any ways?
You know, you can't stop 0 days from existing. This is just the nature of what it is. They exist, but you can kind of minimize their impact, right? And make yourself harder to exploit, you know, through using principles of defense in depth, right? You're going to not rely on just one form of security control. You're going to kind of layer your defenses. You're going to use firewalls and endpoint protection. You're going to use intrusion detection and network segmentation, so that if one layer happens to fail, you've got others to either slow down or outright stop the attack from happening.
So it's like having a standard keyhole and then having a deadbolt above it, and then you can keep adding them on as you kind of, get an idea of what the attacks. And that segues into the next, way to do it, and that's patch management.
Right.
And then system hygiene. So while 0 days have no patch at first, most attacks eventually get one over time, and they use other known vulnerabilities to kind of create those patches.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, I know this happened to this company, so let me protect my system by doing this.
Exactly.
That kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, so patch management and system hygiene is super important, right? Another way that we can defend against them is by utilizing the principle of least privilege and network segmentation, which I kind of briefly touched on. So you're going to limit users and process privileges so that even if a 0 day is exploited, the attacker can't really move laterally very easily, right? So, principle of least privilege reminder is basically you're only giving an employee, a user, enough access for them to perform the specific task that they're authorized to do, and nothing more. So
we don't want a janitor having access to principal level, system information.
Right. And if you are a,
like a customer service representative versus an executive level director who has access to everyone's information, who has access to the company's, internal files and things like that.
Exactly.
That person needs a certain level of access that a customer care representative just doesn't.
Exactly.
And that's principle of least privilege.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've got that. Another way that you can fight against 0 days is by using behavior-based detection, right? So traditional antivirus kind of relies on known malware signatures, right? Which 0 days can often bypass, right? But using behavioral or heuristic detection tools like modern EDR, XDR solutions that monitor for unusual activity helps to kind of recognize when, a behavior pattern is like, is off, when something is off, right? So that is another way, right?
And then we can do application whitelisting and sandboxing, which only allows approved software to run. Right. And that's super important because, like we said, with the 0 days, it's allowing, an attacker to run their code. With whitelisting, they wouldn't be able to do that because it's not on the approved list of code that's able to run within the system. Exactly. Yeah.
And then another way as well is through threat intelligence and zero trust architecture, right? Threat intelligence, basically staying informed through security advisories and threat intel feeds. This kind of helps you to act really quickly when 0 days are disclosed. And then adopting a zero trust mindset. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I don't trust you.
I don't care if you
I
work
don't
for
trust me.
Exactly.
Y'all shouldn't trust me neither.
Nope.
Right? So basically, it means never assuming that users or devices are safe by default. Right? Verifying everything continuously. Right?
Guilty until proven innocent.
Exactly.
In other words.
Yeah.
So we use awareness and security culture. Obviously, you want to instill that in your people, your team, that security is always the priority, and it's everyone's priority.
Exactly.
Because most people's misconception is that, well, that's IT's problem. No, it's everybody's problem, because attackers usually go for the weakest point, which they assume is you not being in the IT department. They assume that you are going to allow them access. You know what I'm saying? And they will exploit that.
Exactly.
So you need to instill that culture of safety first in everyone. It's super important.
Exactly. Yeah. And then finally, another way would be through backup and incident response, right? you've got to maintain regular offline backups of all of your data, and also have a really detailed incident response plan so that you can recover quickly in the event that a zero-day exploit hits your environment, right? So it's not always about being proactive. It's also like, in the event that this happens, what can we put in place, right?
Fire drills.
Exactly. You know, in the event that something happens, we're going to make sure that we have multiple offline backups that won't be affected. That way, you know, our data can't be changed.
Right.
That way, if something happens and they, you know, commit ransom with our data, we've got a backup for it. Or, you know, somebody wipes out our data, we can restore and run, be back up and running quickly. Right? So you really want to make sure that these offline backups are a part of your incident response plan. And then the plan itself being really detailed. Running through tabletop exercises.
Exactly.
What happens, like, we all grew up watching Sesame Street. There's always a segment of Sesame Street talking about what happens if I do X, Y, Z. And you're going to kind of run those exercises and come up with plans for all of these what if scenarios, right? So yeah. So like, now that we've talked about that, let's kind of talk about the big picture and just kind of wrap up about 0 days here.
So 0 days sit at the intersection of curiosity, chaos, and capitalism, most importantly. At the end of the day, most attackers are after money in some way, shape, or form. And data these days is digital gold, you know? So if they can steal your data before before they can, you know, find a security patch to stop you from stealing it, they're going to do that. And they're going to keep doing it. So the big picture is there's bugs that no one knows about, not the users, not the defenders, and sometimes even not the developers themselves. And that window of ignorance is exactly what makes these 0 day attacks so dangerous.
And then, you know, when you discover a 0 day, right, it becomes a race, right? The attackers are rushing to exploit it. We as defenders are rushing to protect against it, patch it, and then the vendors themselves are kind of scrambling to contain the fallout from the 0 day, right? And that's what we saw with 2017's Eternal Blue, right? One leak of a nation state tool turned into a global ransomware crisis overnight, okay? These things can spread a lot more quickly than people realize that they can, and it's another reason why they're so insidious.
Right, and they remind us that perfection in software just doesn't exist because software is developed by humans. Humans will always be the element that presents the most danger, and it makes it easy for these attacks to happen. So, you know, while defenders can patch it and vendors, you know, scramble to contain the incident or whatever, it's still, you know, the more connected we become, the higher the stakes. And the goal is for us to live in fear of the next exploit. And we're constantly going to be on edge, like, oh my God, this, that, and the other. You cannot protect against everything, but, you know, the goal is to put the preventative measures in place, you know, bring on a security first culture in order to have the mindset that, you know, we can protect ourselves in the event that this does happen.
Exactly. Exactly. Because, you know, at the end of the day, defending against 0 days isn't just about security. It's about humility. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We all miss things. And the trick is kind of catching them before someone else does, and having the enough humility to stay vigilant, knowing that, hey, as much as I may or may not know about cybersecurity, as much as I think as I know, I'm human and I'm going to miss certain things, and it's that opportunity window that these missed things present that can cause the problems. And so therefore I'm going to be a little bit more vigilant and not just rely on, you know, thinking that I'm intelligent enough for this to spot this when it happens. Because 0 days show us that that's not the case. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. It's just like, man, you just get caught lacking one moment, then that's it.
And it could not even be your problem, because not every software developer knows exactly, that, oh yeah, I missed a line of code. There's hundreds of thousands, if not millions of lines of code.
Right.
None of it's going to be perfect. It's a guarantee. So, but we can give us some tips on how to, kind of.
Hey, beginner's tip of the week, right?
So yeah. We'll say that you can't patch what you don't know exists.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, but you can protect yourself from the impact. And the way to do it is by keeping automatic updates enabled for your operating system and your apps, and always update, no matter how annoying it is, as soon as the patches are released, because you don't know what they're fixing. So you not knowing, just update it, because it's something, it's something. For them to run an update, something's broken. Yeah. Basically. Yeah. So keep that, and that's how 0 days become end days, and they're able to fix those patches and everything like that.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're new to cybersecurity, right, and you want to kind of learn a little bit about 0 days and other exploits, one of the best free resources out there is the CISA Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog. It's called KEV for short, KEV for short. And it's basically like a public, constantly updated list of vulnerabilities that are actively being exploited in the wild, right? So you're getting real-time information about what is going on around you. So it's not just theoretical bugs, right? But real ones that attackers are using right at this moment. And each entry kind of includes details about the flaw, what products are being affected, and deadlines for federal agencies to patch that particular vulnerability.
Right. And even if you're not in government, it's a great way to stay informed, because like we always say on our respective channels, we already say, yes, we can wait for these things to happen and these resources, but you also have to seek out the knowledge. You have to look for ways to protect yourself, and this is a great resource to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that's our beginner's tip of the week. So I guess now we can kind of move on. Oh wow, the time is kind of moving. Okay, we're just gonna touch on this real quickly here, because we're man. There's so much to say about 0 days that we're like, okay, but I'm glad, because that means we went deep into this topic and shared with you everything that we know about 0 days. Exactly. By the way, anything else that you know about 0 days, please drop it in the comments below.
Yes, I know there's some experts out there, who know more than we do about these attacks. Yeah. And we'd love to hear from you.
Exactly.
Honestly. We're students of the game right now.
Exactly.
So we're sharing the information to help it stick to us, and also to spread awareness. But, we're not above reproach when it comes to learning.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So now we're going to move on to our segment called The Fish Tank, and this is where we are looking at a cybersecurity reference in pop culture, right? Yeah. So this week's pop culture reference would be Mission Impossible Fallout, right?
There's so many of those movies.
Have you watched Mission Impossible Fallout? Yeah, Mission Impossible.
So many.
There's so many, right? But
I know I've seen it. I saw it when it came out, but I don't remember it.
Okay, so this one in Fallout, right? Ethan Hunt and his team are kind of racing against time to prevent a nuclear disaster. And of course, there's plenty of movie hacking going around, right? So we're going to see quick computer hijacks, facial recognition, trickery, right? And then those magical moments where someone kind of types furiously, right, for 5 seconds and suddenly controls an entire security system.
And we all know Hollywood loves to make hacking look instant and glamorous. And this guy has a few keystrokes, and then poof, you're inside the mainframe. Like, come on, man.
So this was definitely, one of the more dramatic kind of examples out there, because it's definitely not very realistic. It's good for drama, and it's good for a 2-hour or something movie, right? It's good for a movie. How realistic it is?
Because if anybody could get into a mainframe that fast, please. You know what I mean? The attacks would be happening every freaking day. If I got to a level where I could hack Not saying I'm going to do it. Just saying.
Zero trust.
This is
no
why
one.
we want zero trust. Not even your co-host.
Your co-host.
Hey, Dara,
My
I'm in your mainframe.
co-host is one of the good guys. He's one of the good guys, man. I'm just playing.
But I'm saying, if I ever got to the level of hacking ability where I can get it to a mainframe in 30 seconds, please. I'm not doing a damn podcast. I'm going into somebody's mainframe.
Zero trust.
Anyway, I don't want this episode to be too long because we're gonna have hell editing it for one, and then uploading it because YouTube doesn't like us very much.
I'm just calling this episode,
yes, we're calling
Side
it episode
Eye.
4. Yeah. Yes,
basically.
This is us being back after a 2-week hiatus.
Exactly.
Yes.
But moving right along,
yes.
right? Okay. So this was definitely a little bit of a kind of a dramatic reference, cybersecurity, pop culture reference, right? But if we want to look at a reality check, right? Like real hacking does not look like a light show of floating code, okay? It's more like command lines, network scans, and trial and error, right? Or even tricking someone into clicking a bad link, right? Because
obviously you don't want to put on flashing lights to say, hey, I'm hacking your system. They're going to be quiet. The whole point is to be stealthy.
Exactly. So, while Mission Impossible kind of makes hijacking... Why did I say hijacking?
Zero
What's going on? What's going on in my head here?
Zero trust.
So, while Mission Impossible makes hacking look like a spy thriller superpower, right? The truth is that it's a lot less flashy than that, right? Yeah. And it's a lot more psychological. The real impossible mission is keeping systems secure before someone exploits the 0-day or falls for a phishing hook, right?
Hey, it sounds like our phishing quips.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. See, we like this.
We like this. This is great.
All right, let's wrap it up, guys.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up here right now. We'll just ask our question of the week.
Okay.
Can't wrap it without the question of the week.
Look at us, Vanna White. Vanna White, present our question of the week, please.
Wait, who's Vanna White? Are you Vanna White or am I Vanna White? You can be Vanna White. Ask the question of the week.
Because I'm pretty?
Because you're pretty.
I'll take it. If you discovered a 0-day tomorrow... If you discovered a 0-day tomorrow, would you sell it on the dark web, report it to the company, or keep it for yourself? And be honest.
Drop your answers below.
Yes, drop the answers. We want to hear.
We want to know. What would you do?
It's like finding a big ass bag of money or finding a skeleton key that opens the bank vault. Are you going to keep it or turn it over? I'm
loving how Tommy's taking this question and he's sweetening the pot here. He's not going to make it easy for y'all. Be honest here, right?
Yes.
Drop that answer in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. We'll respond, and please drop your response.
Yes. And subscribe to our channel and follow us.
Exactly, follow us. So, Mr. Neophyte 1 on all
everything,
social media,
Substack, Instagram, TikTok, all the things.
Right. Yeah. I'm Dara Stays Curious on Substack. I'm Dara.stays.curious on Instagram, and I'm Dara Stays Curious. I'm Dara Stays Curious on Instagram, and Dara.stays.curious on TikTok, right? Where I am most active,
that's
right?
Too many damn Daras to going on in the world.
This is too many of us, man.
Too many Daras.
I'm not going to stop until I have a whole legion, a whole army of Daras just out here doing my bidding.
And I will not trust any of them. Zero trust to all the Dara Stays Curiouses. There's too many.
Exactly. It is what it is. But you guys, thank you again for joining us on episode 4 of Phish and Quips.
Yes.
Y'all, please enjoy the rest of your week. Drop us some comments. Send us a DM. You know, if you've got topics that you would like us to talk about, cybersecurity topics on the Phish and Quips podcast, please drop them for us and let us know. You know,
and DM us if you want to be like a guest, because we can, we can zoom you in.
Exactly. We're gonna start featuring some guests really soon. So if you would love to be a guest on the Phish and Quips podcast,
we'd love to.
Please DM us. We'd love to have you.
Yes.
Anyhow, y'all have a great week, and we'll see you in the next one.
analogies from episode
Peace.
4.